Okay, so
and this was very devastating to them.
Exactly.
I could only see them for 1 hour a week under supervision in the CPS office, and which was very intrusive. And then I could speak to them maybe 10 minutes a day, each on the phone, while they're crying to me over the phone they want to come home.
Okay, so April, you didn't have to go through any of this because you made a...
I went. They had put her in foster care for 3 months initially. And
they did.
I had physical custody of her, and they took the custody away from me, and they were getting to the point where it was going to be, Dad was going to get full custody.
So Dad was going to get full custody?
That's where
okay. So what did you decide to do?
When she came home from a visit with him with bruises on her genitals, I decided that was it and made arrangements to get her out of the state, which I did, and then I hooked up with...
You went underground?
I hooked her in Georgia, went underground, and disappeared for 4 years, basically. Changed names. At that time, I had birth, had another daughter, remarried, and was 2 months pregnant when the FBI came through my door and arrested.
Did they bust down your door and arrest you, or did they just...
They knocked.
They knocked. And you opened the door?
I opened the door, and then they came in.
Okay. And what did they say to you?
They asked if I was April Robin Curtis because I was under an alias, and that they had my daughter at school and they were going to transport her back to California. Basically, I mean, it was not a good scene. I had my 2-year-old daughter there crying. I was 2 months pregnant.
Did they arrest you?
I was shocked. Yes, they put the handcuffs on, and I was in total shock. You know, you always see these things.
Where did they take you after they arrested you?
They were very good to me. They took me to her school to they let me tell her what was going on, and then they took me down to the federal courthouse building and booked me.
Which federal courthouse in what state?
In Rochester, New York.
Okay, and then did they transfer you back to California? No. How did you get to California?
After the bail they had set on me in California was $500,000, and so I had to have
$500,000 to protect your child?
Yes.
Well, because there's a lot of criminals out there who commit a lot of crimes against women, such as rape and murder, and yet their bills. Exactly.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I was very scary to society.
Well. Regardless of what you think, Judge Rufus Yen objects to the fact that April Curtis Meyer was never given a chance to testify or have these witnesses testify about child allegations. So you were not allowed to have your witnesses testify before you ran.
Right.
So in actuality, you were a victim of the legal system and the denial of due process of law.
Right, and my daughter.
And I would think it was a denial of constitutional rights as well.
Right. And luckily, I am a success story. I'm one of the very few in the country, I can say, because my daughter is in my custody. I have full physical and legal custody of her at this point. I went through a criminal trial and was acquitted, was found innocent of all charges that San Bernardino County brought against me after they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, at taxpayers' expense, no doubt. What jail did they put you in?
Back in Rochester, it was just a Rochester County jail, I don't know.
Okay, and how long did you have to stay in jail?
I was only in for 5 days.
5 days.
Enough to get the experience and know that I never wanted to be back.
Exactly. So did you hire an attorney to help you?
In New York, yes, and then once I voluntarily turned myself in California after they'd made arrangements. I had different attorneys, and the attorney I ended up with represented me in the juvenile case and the criminal case.
How long did it take were finally acquitted?
From day one, 10 years.
10 years.
From the time she disclosed till the time I was acquitted.
10 years of your life?
Yes. Because
you tried to protect your child?
Right.
Okay. Jeannie, you were also imprisoned. You said that the Child Protective Services took your children, put them in a foster home.
That's right.
And you went and picked your children up from a foster home to visit with them one day.
Well, no, actually I was directed by CPS to pick them up at the foster home because we had a car accident court-related matter to attend to in court, and my children were required to be there. The older one was. And that particular day, the children begged me not to return them, and I don't know exactly what happened, but in an effort to protect them, there were some similarities as I'm sitting here listening to April Curtis. I also had physical custody of my children, and bail was also set at $500,000 for me.
So you also got a $500,000 bail set for you to protect your children.
To protect your children.
Okay.
And like her, similar to her case, CPS was in the process of sending the children back to the perpetrator. And in an effort to protect them when CPS put them in danger, that's when I decided to take the girls.
And that was the night that you got the knock on the door. What happened?
Well, the police forced themselves in, and I had a nice big hematoma on my leg, you know, after that. Then they kept bashing me up against the wall, and I was so scared I started to go in my pants, and they kept kicking my legs apart and kicking it apart and bashing my head. And I was very sore. And they did this right in front of both of my daughters, and it was unnecessary for them to have to see that kind of physical abuse going on.
Your children must have been their mother being bashed up against a wall. Did they handcuff you? They
handcuffed me, and they thought I had some kind of a weapon, and I didn't, and they all had their guns out on me. And for the longest time, they wouldn't release the handcuffs and wouldn't even let me go to the restroom. I was so scared. I've never had any prior records. You can imagine how horrifying that must have been, and being concerned about it. And so finally, one of the sheriffs, when they realized that I was harmless, you know, after quite a while, had released my handcuffs when I asked her if I could just hold my children before I left.
Where did they take you?
They took me to West Valley Detention Center in San Bernardino County.
And what happened when you were in the detention center?
To be one of the most demeaning experiences in my life, and one of the most frightening. I was put into a holding cell, and there were women all around me who were kicking. It was like packed. We were packed in like sardines, and it smelled. We missed a meal. We had to sleep on the cement floors, seats.
You had to sleep on a cement floor?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Did you have a mattress, a blanket,
no, we
a
were
pillow?
not. We were not given that until the second day that I was there.
So they.
And we were not given the clothing. We were not housed until about 3 days later.
So they told. Must have given you a reason
why. We're not given reasons. We just had to follow orders.
You just had to follow orders. So after that, after they mistreated you, in my opinion, did you finally get a place to sleep, and with whom?
Well, they refer to it as being housed. I think more appropriately celled. I was celled with another inmate, and there were two to a cell. And she was up for murder.
She was up for murder, and you were up for protecting your children.
And, you know, and
what a combination!
It was horrible. Yeah, it was like culture shock, if you can imagine. You know, like I said, I've never done drugs, haven't had any prior records. As a matter of fact, West Valley Detention Center recommended OR, you know, recognizance to the courthouse, and even. They denied it, but they were able to make that recommendation because I have a clean record. And so it was really frightening to be in there. And this person and I ended up getting along quite well. You know, I was there for 79 days, so you get to know them.
Well, during those 79 days, Women Fight Back went to San Bernardino Courthouse.
I heard about that, yes.
And
I was
they demonstrated
to hear.
in front of the courthouse protesting the jailing of a mother who was trying to protect her children. And as a matter of fact, Jeannie, I have an article that was sent to me, and it was from a citizen out there somewhere, and it is about Judge William Robert Falk, and he was the judge in your particular case, wasn't he?
Right. He ended up hearing my case. It went before his...